Shock and awe. Banker wars. A description. Throughout history, crises have shaped nations and redefined power structures. Behind wars, financial collapses, and emergencies lies a calculated agenda designed to consolidate power in the hands of the elite. These events are strategically exploited to manipulate emotions and achieve economic and political goals. This video explores how fear, propaganda, and disaster capitalism drive the agenda of a globalist New World Order, and how the masses are made fearful and pliable in the process. War is business. The weaponization of fear and propaganda. Fear is a potent tool of control. When populations are overwhelmed by fear, they become pliable and accept extraordinary measures to achieve perceived peace. The shock and awe strategy reflects a broader psychological campaign to disorient and manipulate. Propaganda amplifies this process by uniting the masses against a common enemy. During World Wars I and II, narratives portrayed clear adversaries, concealing deeper motivations like control of resources and financial markets. These tactics ensured public compliance, while elite interests thrived. The motto "to follow the money" provides clarity. These wars were often less about ideology and more about profit. Follow the money. The role of banker wars. Wars demand massive funding, provided by financial institutions that profit regardless of the outcome. The term banker wars underscores how international financiers fuel conflicts to create debt and benefit from reconstruction. For example, during World War II, banks financed both Allied and Axis powers, ensuring profits irrespective of victory. Post-war recovery often sets the stage for disaster capitalism. The Marshall Plan, for instance, rebuilt Europe after World War II while opening lucrative opportunities for banks and corporations. Modern conflicts like Iraq and Afghanistan follow similar patterns, with privatized enterprises dominating reconstruction efforts. Disaster capitalism, profiting from crisis. Coined by Naomi Klein, disaster capitalism describes exploiting crises to implement policies that benefit the elite. Wars, economic collapses, and emergencies create a state of urgency, bypassing normal checks and balances. Under this guise, privatization and austerity measures transfer public wealth to private hands. The 2008 financial crisis is a prime example. Bank bailouts, funded by taxpayers, enriched the elite while ordinary citizens faced austerity. This widened inequality and strengthened the grip of a globalist New World Order on financial systems. Toward a one world order? The concept of a one world order is often dismissed as conspiracy, but its elements are visible in global power consolidation. Theories suggest that 3 world wars were steps toward a unified global governance system. Institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank embody this trend, imposing uniform policies on nations in exchange for financial aid. Globalism, at its core, erases national boundaries in favor of centralized authority. Proponents argue it fosters cooperation, but critics highlight its role in eroding sovereignty and concentrating power in elite hands. The start of an emergency often accelerates this agenda, making drastic changes seem necessary. Emotional manipulation. Fearful equals pliable. Fear is not only a mechanism of control, but a tool for shaping public opinion. When people are fearful, they become pliable, agreeing to measures they would ordinarily resist. This was evident during when lockdowns, surveillance measures, and emergency powers were implemented with minimal resistance. While some of these measures may have been necessary, they also set a precedent for how fear can be used to limit freedoms under the banner of safety. Propaganda amplifies this effect by directing fear towards specific targets. Whether it is communism during the Cold War or terrorism in the 21st century, the identification of a common enemy creates unity among the masses while diverting attention from the true power dynamics at play. Privatization. Historically, a gradual reduction in freedom has resulted in an increase in government oversight, sometimes known as overreach. Common sense and empathy. A path forward. Countering fear-mongering requires critical thinking and questioning narratives. Citizens must take a step back from emotionally charged narratives and follow the money. Who benefits from the policies being implemented? What interests are being served by wars, crises, and economic collapses? These questions often reveal the hidden agendas behind seemingly altruistic actions. Empathy, too, has a role. Recognizing the shared humanity in those labeled as enemies by propaganda can disrupt the cycle of fear and division. By focusing on common sense and compassion, societies can resist the pull of a supposed globalist New World Order and demand transparency from leaders. Blood gains. I contend that people should pay attention when a member of the establishment uses expressions like left unchecked, reinforcements, unfortunate situation, ideological warfare, proactive, terror threat, and so on. Keep an eye on land grabs, displacement, misappropriation of funds, and body counts. Find out what forces are responsible for these dramatic changes to entire populations. This result is far deeper than economic scarring. The power of perception. What is a false flag? A military or political move meant to provide the impression that someone else is to blame is known as a false flag. When pirates would hoist the flag of a friendly country in the 16th century to fool merchant ships into letting them approach, the phrase first appeared. False flags are used to assign blame for an action to an adversary, frequently as a pretext for starting a war. Recently, false flag operations have been used to discredit, question the mental capacity or lack thereof of certain individuals, and label them conspiracy theorists, a term used disparagingly and as a way to banish them from public discourse, even though there are historical examples. Also, the programming manual Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, which was unintentionally discovered in 1986, describes biological warfare and other control mechanisms, such as politics and education, that would be weaponized with so-called silent weapons, first against unsuspecting Americans and subsequently on the world economy. In short, the phrase, "never let a good crisis go to waste," has been used frequently in the political sphere, and in my humble view, it is important to keep in mind since it highlights the brutality of war games and how it can be exploited to control the populace and strengthen the position of the elite. Do you believe that a stabilizing administration that prioritizes peace contributes to the economic and psychological development of its citizens? Like, comment, share, subscribe. Disclaimer. This video is for informational purposes only. I encourage you to do your own research. If there are 3 sides to every story, seek your own understanding, so the world feels less like a maze and more like a map that makes sense to you. Knowledge doesn't just inform, it transforms. This is a journey, not a conclusion,